Okay, Melissa, thank you so much for joining us here today. If I can have you say and spell your first and last name for us.
Okay, my name is Melissa O'Neill. It's Melissa, capital O, apostrophe, capital Neal.
Okay, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. Can you tell me a little bit about where you grew up and what that was like?
I actually grew up in a town called Orneville.
Okay.
And I remember that we didn't have a lot of money.
Okay.
But I had a good childhood. We always had something to do, and we actually lived along the bayou.
Okay.
And one of my favorite places to go in that town was a thrift store that still exists. It's known as the Center. And I like to read a lot, and my love for reading developed when I was young, and I would go get books at the thrift store because I couldn't afford to buy books at the book fairs at school.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's where I got all my books from. And it's a great little town. I enjoyed my childhood there.
It is. There's a little restaurant there. I think it's called the Little Big Cup.
Oh, yes. I've eaten there. The food is good.
It's very good. Highly recommend it. Were you an only child, or did you have siblings?
No.
Okay.
I actually have 6 siblings on my mother's side.
Okay.
And on my father's side, I have 3 siblings, and I'm the oldest on both sides.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
So did you have a lot of responsibilities growing up?
I sure did. When I got back off of school, I would have to sometimes babysit or help do the laundry or, help prepare food and stuff like that. But it wasn't nothing too, major.
Yeah. So where did you go to school there?
I went to school at Orneville Elementary. And then after that, I went to Brobridge, junior high and high school, but not long. Shortly after that, I ended up in Maurice.
Okay.
And I went to school at North Vermilion. And that was a great experience. I loved that school. And I actually graduated from there.
Okay. What was it about the school that you loved? Was it a teacher in particular that gave you some really good advice or education there that you really learned a lot from, or the whole experience?
All my teachers were great, but one of them, her name was Lisa Lynch. She was my English teacher. And I actually was a teen mom. So, and around that time, she had a son as well.
Okay.
And we kind of bonded, and she gave me a few pointers and stuff like that. And I just really felt close to her. And I think that's one of the reasons, I did well and my love for English developed. And I also wrote for the school paper under her guidance as well. But she's a great English teacher, and I think she's still there.
Oh, that's great. Well, I know that in May it's Teacher Appreciation Week, but I think it's great to acknowledge teachers year-round and appreciate what they do. So thanks for giving her that shout-out. I'm sure she appreciates it as well. You mentioned that you like to read a lot as a young age. What did you want to be when you were growing up?
Well, I wanted to be an English professor until I realized how much work that took. But I did graduate with a degree in English and a minor in communications. After wanting to be an English professor, I wanted to be an investigative journalist. Ooh. And then that kind of died down. So now I still work in media, and I still do some writing as part of my job. So I enjoy what I do.
Tell me, what was the first job that you've ever had?
Oh, wow.
And what did that teach you about life?
My first job was working at Sonic on Ambassador Caffrey.
Okay.
And that taught me you really have to hustle if you want to make money, because a lot of us, we try to do our best because we wanted to make good tips. So, if you were a good car hopper or a good skater, you got good tips.
Were you on skates?
Oh, no.
No.
I just walked really fast as a car hopper.
That's awesome. So what do you do now? Tell me about your career path and how you started and where you are now.
I work in the media department for an advertising agency, and I assist the main media buyer. So I'm basically the assistant media buyer, and I help buy ad space and airtime for clients. And I also do copywriting, some blog posts, and social media posts as well. And I think my favorite part is the writing part.
Yeah.
Because I'm just a book lover at heart and a word lover at heart. So.
Okay. Well, you mentioned you love for books. What are you currently reading right now, or are you reading several books right now?
I'm currently reading a book called Homegoing by an author. I can't pronounce her name.
Okay.
But it's a very good book.
What about, since you've started reading at such a young age, who are some of your favorite authors, and what are some of your favorite books of all time?
Oh, wow. Some of my favorite books, I can't say favorite authors, but I read a lot of Disney books when I was younger. And then I remember The Giver being one of my favorite books as well. And then I developed a love for classic literature afterwards. So I was into classic literature after those books.
Okay. Let's switch gears a little bit, because I know that you are a member here at AOC. Tell me how you got involved with AOC and what was your first impression?
I actually got interested in AOC through social media. I started seeing Facebook posts, and I saw some of the classes being offered, and I was interested in enrolling in some of those workshops whenever I'd have time. And then I looked up the organization online and just started reading some of the things that AOC does, and that basically attracted my interest, and I wanted a membership.
Great. Do you have any goals to create any projects down the line here at AOC?
Maybe a video, but I don't have anything in mind yet. I just want to learn how to do some of the, Photoshop and Adobe
Sure.
stuff that y'all teach over here.
We do. So tell me more about yourself. What do you like to do for fun? What are some of your hobbies?
Okay, besides reading, I like to travel. I just like going places, and I'm thankful for vacation time. I think we all are thankful for vacation time, just to get away and just relax and then just enjoy life. I like trying new things. I love food, home cooked meals. I enjoy listening to Zydeco music. Just having a good time and just enjoying life.
Well, you mentioned traveling. What's a favorite vacation of yours that you've had so far, and why was it so great? What made it?
I think my favorite vacation so far was a cruise I went on, and that was because I actually overcame a fear. I've never gotten on a ship, and when I was actually going on a ship, I felt like it was in my stomach.
Did you get seasick at all?
I did, but I did go to the infirmary, and they gave me some kind of motion sickness pills, and I should have packed that. But I had a really good time, and I want to take another cruise in the future.
Sure. Well, that leads me to my next question. If you could travel anywhere in the world, where would it be and why?
To the UK, to England, because they have a lot of authors that I like that's based in that area, especially with classic literature and all the castles and everything I want to go see. And I'm hoping, if everything goes well, I'll actually be there next year, next spring or summer.
Okay, tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, I'll actually be there because I have a brother. He's actually living out there. He's in the Air Force.
Okay.
And he's stationed there for 3 years, so we're going to go visit.
Okay. Do you have any other family members in the military?
No, not currently. Not that I know of.
Yeah, gotcha. What is your favorite decade and why?
Favorite decade? The 90s. I was a 90s kid. Well, I was born in the late 80s, but the 90s kid. I mean, we just had a really good childhood. These kids these days don't know what they're missing. They don't play outside anymore.
Right. Well, you mentioned that you grew up in Orneville and along the bayou. I would imagine that you did a lot of things outside, playing games and playing with neighborhood kids. Tell me what some of your favorite activities were.
Oh, we would rollerblade on sidewalks. We played baseball. We found a field before they built it was an auditorium. And before they started having like the fair next to it, we would go play baseball there during the summers and stuff. And also we would ride our bicycles outside, or the older adults, they'd make us go outside during the summer. You couldn't go in and out. So we'd have our little sandwiches or hug juices and snacks. And we found stuff to do. I mean, marbles. We even had the little old Nintendo DS games, the little handheld games, Gigapets, jump ropes. It was just fun. We actually played outside. Nowadays, the kids are just on these games.
Or on a cell phone.
inside.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I see that you have one on your arm, but I was going to ask you if you had any tattoos, and if so, how many, and what are they of?
I have one, and I want to get it removed. There's just some stars, and it's like growing on a vine, but I actually want to get it removed.
Was it
want
something that
smaller.
you did much younger and you regret it, or
Yes, I did it much when I was younger, and then now, like that I'm older, it's like I don't want this here anymore. Maybe I want to get something smaller somewhere else.
Gotcha, gotcha. Now for a fun question: if you won the lottery, what would you do with the money?
What would I do?
Yeah.
The first thing I would actually tithe. I'd tithe off the lottery, you know, tithe to my church. And I would help those that actually need, that are in need. Not too much, because if you help someone too much, sometimes that's not a good thing. So, but you know, the elderly first. That's the people I would help first, but if I would win the lottery, and then actually those who really need. But then other than that, I would save the rest of the money and just, you know, go on trips. I would still work. I wouldn't quit my job. I would still work because I've always been a worker. But I would, you know, travel more with the vacation time.
With you saying that you would still work, it sounds like you have a strong work ethic. Where do you think those values came from?
I mean, just coming, just the way I was brought up, you know. Like I said, we didn't have much, but we were, you know, we wasn't actually, you know, in lack. You know, we had everything we needed. It's just that we didn't have everything we wanted. And I grew up in a family, you know, people actually worked. You know, they worked for what they wanted. And seeing my ancestors, like my grandmother and my aunts and them, you know, they didn't have the opportunity to have an education like I had, but they worked. They had to work on a farm, and you know, they had to work to actually live. You know.
Yeah.
So.
If you could spend one day in someone else's shoes, who would it be and why?
No one. I don't want to know what it's like to be in somebody else's shoes.
You're very happy with being in your own.
Yes, I have my own things to deal with. I don't want to see what it's like for somebody.
Gotcha. And I know you mentioned that you love music. I think you said Zydeco. What would you say would be some of your favorite musicians or bands, or who would be some of your favorite bands?
My favorite musicians and bands, well, Zydeco-wise, I like Chris Ardoin, J. Paul Jr., and Lil Nate.
Okay, okay.
I can listen to that. I like, you know, and they play it like on Sundays afternoons, so I like, you know.
Do you like to go to live concerts or festivals and things like that?
It depends on what it is, because nowadays, you know, you go somewhere to enjoy yourself and you don't know what's going to happen, you know. You know, people doing crazy things, but if it's not too much people, then I'll go. It's only like certain events.
Okay. Well, let's talk about movies and television. What are some of your favorite TV shows or movies that you like to watch?
Favorite TV shows are Queen Sugar and Greenleaf. That's my two shows.
Okay.
And like sometimes on weekends, I'll just like to relax and watch, you know, all the Lifetime movies that play.
Sure, sure. I know you mentioned a little earlier, you know, helping the elderly if you won the lottery. Are there any charities that you're involved with, or nonprofit organizations that you are involved with, have been involved with in the past, or would like to be involved with in the future?
Not really. In the past, I was a VITA volunteer.
Okay.
And I've also volunteered with that Mouse Parade Games of Acadiana. And then the sorority I'm in, it's actually a nonprofit organization. It's Alpha Rho Omega Christian Sorority. And we do a lot of community service. We volunteer at certain things in the community. And I remember once or twice we actually went to the nursing homes and, you know, did things with the elderly, and also put Christmas decorations on their door. Like I said, I would like to help the elderly, because I have a grandmother that's elderly, and she's deaf.
Okay.
But she worked when she was younger, you know. So, and I like to just, you know, just give back, because there's a lot of elderly people on fixed income that, you know, they need extra assistance.
Well, you mentioned to me that you are hearing impaired. Tell me how that's affected your life, and you know, pros and cons, and any great experiences, any negative experiences? The kids can be mean. Didn't know if you had any, experiences with kids from your past that might have, bullied you or anything like that.
Well, I actually didn't find out I was hearing impaired until sometime in 2015. Oh, no. It was 2016 that I found out that I was hearing impaired. And I took it lightly because I guess I kind of noticed it, but I was maybe in denial about it because it was a gradual thing. It didn't just, I was born with the hearing loss. I thought I heard fine till people started saying, I needed to check my hearing. And then, and even when I was in college, sometimes if I didn't understand what the professor was saying, I'd ask somebody else. But I didn't, I didn't think nothing was wrong with me until I started my current job. And that's when some of my coworkers were like, did you get your hearing tested? Or maybe, and that's when I went in and I found out I have hereditary hearing loss in both ears. And it's not that bad, but it's severe enough for me to be wearing hearing aids apparently.
Right. So this is a fun question that I like to ask people. If you could have dinner with someone or a group of people, living or deceased, celebrity or non-famous, who would it be and why?
Wait, can you repeat that?
Yes. If you could have dinner with anyone, living or deceased, who would it be and why? And it could be more than one person.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would like to sit with Maya Angelou, Jane Austen, Julia Roberts, and Denzel Washington.
Okay.
And Denzel Washington and Julia Roberts, because those two are my favorite actors. Well, actress and favorite actor. And Maya Angelou, I just loved her work and her poetry. And also her life story as well, because, she didn't grow up with everything handed to her. Right. And also I would like I said, Jane Austen, because she was, some of her work was controversial in her time, for a woman to be writing that kind of material. And, I'd really admire those two. And also Nathaniel Hawthorne. I don't know if you heard of him. But I would like to have dinner with him as well, because I had some questions about the 2 stories he wrote.
Right.
Like, where did you get the inspiration for that?
Sure. Yeah. Well, speaking of aspirations of being an author, do you ever have any dreams of writing a book one day?
Yes, I sure do. And I actually started writing one, but I haven't been consistent to just keep adding to it. But that's another goal I have to achieve.
That would be great. Let's fast forward to about 10 years from now. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Just a woman walking in my purpose and just enjoying life and then just being everything that I'm destined to be at that moment in time.
How would you like to be remembered?
I'd like to be remembered as, a strong woman in Christ, and who also, just always was optimistic and always overcame adversities. No matter what happened, I stay determined. I don't let anything, get me down. Just that's how I want to be remembered.
Good. If you could describe yourself in 3 words, what would they be?
Humble, independent, and thankful.
Those are very good traits to have. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming in, Melissa. Really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.